can do whatever the Hyundai you want.
Hey, I'm Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
G'day, I'm Marcus Ambrose.
Hey, this is Kenny Ross, and you're listening to the
Fuel Pod.
This podcast covers all things motorsports. It's unfiltered, it's unabashed, and
Ooh, we're going crazy.
Farmer.
What's up, man? Holy shit. Welcome to the show, buddy. Uh-oh, I think
Hello.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah,
as
I
always-
figured out the mute there pretty quick.
Yeah, as always, dude. it's
What's up,
a pleasure.
Mikey?
And perfect episode for you to show up on here on episode 72. I love Papaya. We're going to be talking some serious high-level background on McLaren, and I know you're one of the guys on that. We're also going to be talking like some tech stuff, and I'm glad you're in the house because we got the new Mikey introduced listener mailbag, which we'll get to at the end of the show.
Oh,
So,
sweet. Good deal.
yeah, so that's going to be kind of cool. He had I'm not going to ruin it. I'll let him tell the story when we get to it. But as everybody knows, we've kind of changed the outline of the show. Instead of just being a straight up race reporting, we're going to kind of talk about stuff surrounding the race for whatever Grand Prix or NASCAR race that we're going to talk about, or IndyCar or whatever.
Cool.
And then we're kind of doing a high level discussion on McLaren and their resurgence in 2023. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't, especially since I predicted them to finish ninth. So I've never been happier to be wrong in my life. So I've said it a million times. There's a few constructors that Formula One needs to be successful, and McLaren is one of those, along with Ferrari
Yes.
and Mercedes, I think.
Couldn't agree
they
more,
need
Jim.
them. Yeah, thank you. And they need those guys to be successful. So without further ado, we're going to talk to about a race that's coming up this weekend that F1 Farmer and his pops has been to.
We went 2 years ago.
Okay. Tell us about the experience, man. I mean, we rarely get to talk about somebody that's been to one, so talk about it, good and bad.
So,
because I know there's some downside.
Oh, there's plenty of bad. Yeah. There's really two things to talk about. The first thing is the track, the facility, the place. That's COTA, Circuit of the Americas in Austin. The second half to that is the race itself, the event that Formula One is. Both are very well put together in terms of how they schedule things, how precise they are when things start, stop. What you get what you expect in terms of all, because there's a ton of stuff going on throughout a day, all kinds of concerts and everything else. We saw Shaq on stage. That was cool. But the facility, once you're there, is amazing. Getting into it and out of it, complete and utter nightmare. The show, what Formula One is as an observer, as a fan sitting in the stands, at least where we were in turn 12, about the 100-meter board, we wanted to hit the braking zone right in front of us, and we were pretty close. Turns out to be not a good place. You would think, as a racing fan, that's where you want to be, in the biggest passing zone and all that.
Well, yeah, turn 12 is a high overtake area with late
It's the biggest. It's the longest straight on the track.
Yeah.
The end of it, right? So that was our mentality going into it, and we realized about halfway through our visit that we should have just got straightaway tickets, front straight tickets, regardless of where they were, or what they were, or even because our reserve seat tickets allowed us to have general admission as well. We could have gone over, and we chose not to. And in hindsight, we should have. F1 is about, in person, it's about seeing pit stops, seeing a driver. It's that emotional connection to, holy shit, that's Fernando Alonso.
Well, it's just
you're
like,
seeing him with your own eyes, and you don't see that when you're in turn 12.
No. I got to tell you, though, as a Ferrari fan, though, man, I would obviously want to be on the front stretch because and I'd need you guys flanking me because when they pulled into the pits and fuck it up, I'd want to be able
Sure.
to grab your all's shoulders and go,
Take
Yeah, so we don't.
tires.
Well,
Take
it'll keep you from
Hell,
jumping
four
off
tires.
It'll keep you from jumping off of the grandstand. You know, it'll
Right.
keep you from going Harry Carey. But no, really, honestly, we went as race fans, which was the
Right.
wrong thing to do. We should have gone as fans.
Yeah.
Somebody who's in, you know, the things that we talk about when we're at home and we have this great TV coverage of the race. You know, we're like, stop showing the celebrities, stop showing this, stop showing that. In person, I think if we had sat in a seat that was more available to that by our own choice,
Yeah.
we would have had a better experience because it would have been, holy shit, look, you know, the only driver I got to see out of a car, his entire full body, was Alonso. And it's because he went off in 12 and hopped on the little scooter right below us on the backside of the grandstands.
Isn't
But
that the race where he got hit by his own teammate and went airborne there on the coming down towards start finish?
Well, his soon to be teammate. He was at
that's
Alpine.
right. That's right.
But it was Lance, yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we saw that with our own eyes. That was coming towards turn 12, right
Yeah.
under the pedestrian bridge. Yeah. Chuck and I saw that live. It was
that looked like a
bit of a
big
shit
time
show.
whoa moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a
So
bit.
anyway, COTA's this weekend. I know we're trying to work on a little watch party together. And guys, I got to tell you, and I'm going to say this right on the episode. If we do, we should probably try to do some reels or some or
We have to,
TikTokers. Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
I mean, it'd be stupid not to.
100%.
So, I
and
think the
Eric
race
has new
starts-
toys. So
Good. Love when Eric gets new toys. Is it at 2:00? Is it a 2:00 race or 3?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
2:00.
Okay, so 2:00 race.
Yeah, which is awesome. I love that they put it in primetime US, not primetime UK, which is what they do for almost every other race time. This is, well, no, I guess that's primetime UK too, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
we have a I
It
guess
is.
would
Yeah,
be, really.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
I mean,
well,
it's
5
a
or
little
6
bit
hours
ahead,
depending
but
on
I think it's
daylight
like
savings.
5 hours from
Yeah.
Eastern time. Right.
Yeah, like I said, depending on.
So Sam, I know you're a new F1 fan that Mikey brought on board. So buddy, listen, you got to tune in Sunday and watch it.
And it's a sprint weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, and Mikey, I'm going to slide you some access for your newbies so they can watch it if they're not watching it with you. And we'll get with that later. But make sure you watch it this weekend on F1 TV or on ESPN. And ESPN basically hijacks the Sky Sports UK broadcast for that.
Right.
Unfortunately, you'll have to listen to Danica Patrick and Nico Rosberg, but
no, that's
pretty
the
much
F1
the same feeds.
Danica's on the FOM this week.
Oh, is she?
She's not on Sky, yeah. So
okay.
So Danica will be on F1 TV, but you'll get Coulthard.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Well, it's America, dude. What do you expect?
Might be the only weekend I watch it on ESPN. Anyway,
we still got Vegas.
Yeah, true. COTA is a cool track, and it's situated geographically in kind of a weird location over on the Turnpike east of Austin. But a really cool
which is
track.
a shit show to get to.
Yeah, and if you're a big NFL fan that's been enjoying the Taylor Swift footage recently at NFL games, I am not one of those people. Then you'll really love the F1 race at Austin because it brings out Ben Stiller and Michael Douglas and Matthew McConaughey and Brad Pitt, who's filming his. I'm sure they'll have some kind of footage for their F1 movie.
Today, Adam Driver and Drew Barrymore were in the Ferrari pits.
Yay! Just who I want in the Ferrari pits.
Apparently
the
Adam's
clumsy
playing
one from Charlie's Angels. Thank you.
Right. The clumsy one.
It could be worse.
Appreciate it.
It could be worse. It will be worse.
Yeah. She probably tripped and knocked off one of the end stabilizers, and now I'm totally going to be screwed for this race, but whatever. Thanks, Drew.
Apparently Adam Driver is playing Enzo Ferrari in a new movie.
Yes. So, and you kind of...
I know nothing about this other than Kim's thing.
I was saving this for the Fuel Pod News section of the show, but yes, he is going to be playing Enzo Ferrari, so pretty stoked about that. And it's an all-star cast, of course. Adam Driver has the ability to drag in massive amounts of talent now.
Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Is that the release day?
Yeah.
Cool.
So very looking forward to going to see. I don't know if you guys saw the Lambo movie with Frank Grillo.
No.
Oh man,
but I know the movie. But yeah.
It even shows his little nobody knows about it drag race with Enzo at one point, like at midnight one night, where they both basically just met at an intersection and took off in each other's cars. But if you get a chance to watch that, make sure you go get that and give it.
That's got to go on Plex.
Excellent. Frank Grillo's excellent doing the Lambo thing. So anyway, oh wow, we've actually got some people in the comments here. So thanks Redbeard for joining us, guys. Wow, man, really? I clicked show on his comment before I realized what it said. Thanks, man.
Hey, gentlemen,
with see, friends like this.
Here's what Big Guy doesn't know is that is a famous quote from NASCAR.
Is it?
Yes. So back in I believe it to be late 90s, perhaps early 1000s, but I'm going to go late 90s. I may be off on this, but I'm pretty close. Jimmy Spencer had been a real prick lately. And the person that gave the command, the start your engines command, said, "Gentlemen, and Jimmy Spencer, start your engines."
Wow. I didn't even know that, man. That's a cool little piece of knowledge.
See, Rob got it.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, Chuck and I still talk about that, as well as many Michael Waltrip interesting interviews.
So, speaking of NASCAR, nice segue. Appreciate it. So, anyway, real quick, just to close out Formula One. I know this is technically a Formula One broadcast, and this is about the most minimal F1 coverage we're ever going to do because there's really not much to do until the race. And oddly enough, not a lot of drama this week. And then everything else I want to talk about that's Formula One is in our news section. So we'll get to that shortly. But NASCAR was at Las Vegas. Got the early preview there, but of course they're on an actual track. It's not a road street course. Sorry. And obviously we're at the playoffs. We're in the round of eights going on right now. Not much really to say. It was a kind of an uneventful. If you're one of the people that watches, and shame on you, if you're one of the people that watches NASCAR just for the wrecks, you probably did not enjoy yourself this past Sunday. There was some cool stuff. Kyle Larson won it. Bowman was up there as usual. Chris Bell was on pole as always. The coolest thing that even happened was the announcers when Kyle Busch was coming up behind a couple of drivers, and they're like, I wonder who he's going to push. He ended up not pushing anybody and just went through the middle and tried to split them, which was a disaster. I mean, there was no wreck there, but it was a disaster. He couldn't catch a draft. But Larson won. That's his second win during the playoffs. Pretty sure Bubba Wallace is going to be out and Harvick and those guys. Truex did okay, but this week we are moving into Homestead at Miami, which is weird because Homestead, by the way, I lived in Miami for a few years. Homestead is not short track. It's not in Miami. This is what kills me the most.
No, it's not.
So it's right. Homestead, if you don't know, is right before Florida City, which is the last city in Florida before you hit the Keys Bridge. It's technically, and this is not a put down. This is just the way it is. When you leave Miami, Homestead is the redneck part of South Florida. Because if you know anything about South Florida versus the whole entire rest of Florida, South Florida is a separate country. It is an absolute separate country. The tossed salad of diversity down there is kind of ridiculous. And I realized that literally 5 minutes after I arrived in North Miami Beach to live there.
Didn't take long, did it?
Yeah, I walked in the subway, and no one knew what I was talking about. So that's fine.
Yep.
And I
we don't understand you.
I'm a French and Latin guy, so I walk into Subway, and I'm like, yeah, I'll take a number 2 foot long, and then they were like, no, and I was like, numero unis grande. So anyway, that was the best I could come up with. But so it's in Homestead this weekend. Oval track should be an interesting track. They've the one cool thing about Homestead is over the years they have increased the banking there. That used to be a flat one like Phoenix. Of course, Phoenix is not flat anymore. It's got some decent banking. So should be an interesting race this weekend. IMSA ran Petit Le Mans. I didn't really get any results on it, guys. I'm sorry. It was a very, very busy week. But maybe we can come to the I was gonna say maybe I can, if we put something together this Sunday while we're watching COTA.
Yeah, do some highlights or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So that brings us to our big discussion this evening, which is McLaren. And folks, if you're listening to this show, or you have somebody that is bringing you on to watch this show, and you're coming from either no racing background or you're coming from straight NASCAR, and somebody's telling you, hey, you need to watch Drive to Survive, and you're going to get on there and you're going to see about a constructor named McLaren. And they are one of the most unique constructors on the grid as far as I'm concerned, because they're not a pure constructor. They'll use they're basically like a third-party mod company in a lot of ways, and Farmer might disagree with me on this one, but
no, they are in at times in their life, including currently, they have been a non-works team.
Absolutely, and they've used pretty much every single effing power unit that is available during their F1 career,
and been successful with every single effing power unit that's available.
Thank you for including the effing.
Yeah,
I'm trying to get that word in Webster's Collegiate, but anyway, so first entry, and we're specifically talking, and you guys can talk about non-Formula One McLaren, but right now I'm going to mention some just Formula One stuff. So first entry was 1966 at the Monaco Grand Prix. So basically at this point, Formula One had been around for about 16 years. Ferrari's the only constructor that has attended every single Grand Prix since 1950.
That's correct.
So 1966, McLaren enters the fray. I want to say they were Ford or whatever for their power unit that first year, but they ended up hitting every single. Like I said, they hit every single power unit on the grid. But let's be clear, they had 8 constructors championships over the course of McLaren's F1 history. They've had 12 drivers championships. They've had 183 wins and 501 podiums.
They're the third most successful team in F1.
Correct. And if you're not a Formula One fan, I can't even tell you 183 wins. Forget the 501 podiums.
Massive.
The 183 wins is disgusting. I think Ferrari and Williams are the only ones that even come close to that, probably.
Well, Mercedes now.
Yeah, Mercedes now, absolutely.
But if you went pre-hybrid, you'd be right. Yep.
Absolutely. They've had so many famous drivers, and I'm going to miss a bunch, and mainly because a lot of people won't know if I name some of the crazy ones from the 60s and 70s. But let's just hit the high points. Niki Lauda, Ayrton Senna.
Alain Prost.
Yep.
Mika
Alonso.
Hakkinen.
Oh, I forgot Hakkinen, man. I put Alonso, Hamilton,
won 2 world championships.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's because I don't like that guy.
Oh, I love Mika. Mika's awesome.
Yeah.
I
don't like that guy.
Yeah, I like.
He's like an older Nico to me.
Well, Nico has Finnish heritage. He's Keki's son. So, but yeah, McLaren world champions, like you said, Lauda, Senna, Prost, Hakkinen, Hamilton,
Sainz, Alonso.
Sainz drivers. No, I was saying world champions, but Kovalainen, Kevin Magnussen's first drive as a rookie
Yes.
was McLaren.
Didn't he beat out Checo for that seat?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, he beat
Yeah,
out
he did.
Checo for that seat.
Yeah, he did. He did.
So that's crazy shit right there.
Kevin was and still is very quick. Quicker than his daddy, that's for sure.
I think he's quicker than he's always been quicker than his car because he's always had kind of a shitty car. Him and Hulkenberg
not in the
both,
McLaren days, but every other time, yeah.
Well, he was a lot
his
younger
first
at
two
McLaren.
seasons. Oh, he was fresh. Yeah, he was fresh meat for sure.
But
McLaren has been a stalwart of a winning team forever, and they have some of the best engineering. Well, they employed Adrian Newey for the longest time. Almost all of those McLaren championship-winning cars were designed by Newey. If not all of them, I'm not sure. I'd have to check, but the great majority.
That dude needs to go to the Hall of Fame.
He's already in it. He should be the founder of the Hall of Fame.
He should go to the Hall while he's still working.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
I mean, because he's done something, and Mikey, hopefully we'll pull you in on this part of the conversation, but he's done something this year and probably a little bit last year. But he's done over the past 2 years, he's done something to where it's reached a point where no one can figure it out, which is insane. Mikey, what do you think? Just watching it as a fan, what have you thought of Adrian Newey? I know this kind of goes off McLaren and on the Red Bull, but it's kind of all related. We'll get there in a minute.
Yeah, this guy is a genius. He's there's something there. Is it on the floor? Is it a side pod? Everybody's trying everything they can, and they can't find the one. What is it?
Yeah, and it's and the weird thing is, if you're just an F1 fan, you don't realize that Adrian Newey has done more than, and you're a huge fan of Goodwood, so you've seen a lot of Adrian Newey cars or Adrian Newey worked on cars running there as well. And then of course the Aston Martin Valkyrie, which came from basically the Red Bull VGT car that he designed for Red Bull, is basically turned into, there you go. So, hey, make sure
I love me some Adrian Newey.
Yeah, make sure we put a link
Fabulous
on Twitter for that as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to read it. But, he designed that car for them. So, the Valkyrie is almost probably 98% Adrian Newey.
No, easily, if not more.
Which makes me believe that it's going to be ready when it hits the track.
Well, I think a lot of the people thought that Red Bull, or excuse me, Aston Martin would have taken what they learned from Adrian Newey and come up with a car that worked. But at the beginning of the season they kind of did, but you can't always do that. You got to be very careful with the rules.
Correct. And the thing about saying what they learned from Adrian's going to keep his IP real close. And the thing about Adrian is he doesn't design in CAD. He designs pencil, paper. Yeah. I mean, he is ink and paper. That's how he still works to this day. He's a giant.
He can't do it, but I heard he's got a guy that does like off of his concept stuff that still does clay, that does the clay builds.
Yeah. Okay. So he's talked about that recently, and he talks about it in the book a little bit. It's that has gone away in the past, say, 10 years, but it had quite a presence up until then, which is still well into the modern F1 period, where guys are doing all computer, and he's sitting there doing it old school and kicking their ass at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Adrian's amazing. He truly is.
I read something somewhere recently that, and I don't remember what driver it was, but he asked the driver if he could drive with the gas foot above his brake foot instead of side by side. And the driver said, "No, that's impossible." And he looked at him and said, "Well, the problem's between the steering wheel and the engine."
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see.
That doesn't leave much ambiguity there.
I can see where he's trying to do. And if Adrian Newey could do it, I'm sure he would. But doing like a setup to where it's like throttle pedal.
Well, Adrian is the reason that drivers sit in the position they do now, because so your early Senna, Prost, McLaren cars that won world championships had relatively flat legs, right? So your butt and your heels were at about the same height. Right. Today, if I'm looking straight down into this camera and I'm a driver sitting in a car, my heels are about here. My toes are about here. You know? So you're the visibility now, you're sitting so low, your center of gravity is so low. That all comes from the Leighton House cars that Adrian first designed in the early 90s before McLaren picked them up. You can go back and see now in the auction records, those Leighton House cars are selling for quadruple what any other unnamed non-Ferrari basically car from that era sells for. Adrian is driving Formula One car markets. It's amazing.
So I want to talk about something, and I've got to start kind of way out on the fringe in order to bring it into the middle so that, Eric, I really want you to hit on this. But Daniel Ricciardo, driving for Red Bull. He loves a car that is a good lower downforce car where he can late brake and he can get into a turn. For the life of me, I'm still trying to figure out why he left to go to Renault anyway, besides the $40 million. But he ends up at Renault. And I guess he's thinking,
by the way, that was the reason.
Okay. So he ends up at Renault, which is, he's thinking, I think, is a lot like the Red Bull car, which it wasn't. And then
it was not.
He ends up making a second bigger mistake
to McLaren that was even worse.
Even worse. And that's what I want you to talk about. So I wanted to start out here on the edge where Danny had exactly the car that was built for him to drive. And
you just said exactly the right thing, built for him. And
but
that's why Max is doing what he's doing. That's why Michael did what he did.
It was one of the few times, though, that we had a constructor where the car was built for both drivers. Danny and Max both liked the way that car was built.
Yes, and they were both quick.
Right.
But it was built for Max.
Yeah,
it just so happens, in my opinion, that Danny drives similarly to Max.
Yeah, I think Danny, you can, and I know Mikey has a very low opinion of Danny, but just keep laughing.
Because he doesn't know him.
Laugh it up, fuzzball.
Laugh it up, fuzzball. Hell yeah.
That's my Empire Strikes Back quote for the night. But anyway,
I love
that. So all you scruffy looking Nerf herders aside,
scruffy looking.
Danny I think Danny, you can take everything away from Danny if you want. I don't think anybody late break overtakes the way Danny does. I think he's the king of it. I think if anybody's even close, it's Alonso. But so he leaves he goes to cars that cannot late brake. That McLaren at the time was a Mercedes power plant, wasn't it? When he went to it, still a Mercedes power plant. Yeah. So built for straight line speed, not built for what Danny does on a track.
Well, yeah, but PU and Aero is different. And so by the way, high downforce cars late brake better. Oh, I have an intruder.
Sorry. Is it Basil?
Oh, hell yeah.
Got this crazy fat ass dog named Basil, which I have given the name Basil Rathbone. I don't know if that's from Austin Powers or not.
No, he's named after Basil Fawlty, John Cleese's character from Fawlty Towers. That's where he's named. That's it.
Shit.
And if you know that show, all 12 episodes of it, you know that Basil's fucking batshit crazy.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Yeah, that's a cow chumping fool. So anyway, continue with what you're talking about.
You're gonna have to remind me.
At some point, we got to get back to McLaren. Plus, apparently,
Oh.
Mikey wants to bust my ass on something with McLaren, so we'll see how that goes.
Okay, well, I'll break that tie.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, you know me.
Yeah, I do know you.
Statistics.
Yeah.
I'm probably not wrong. Most of
No,
the time.
no.
All right. So anyway, let's talk about. So we enter to 2023. McLaren's coming off of a year where they were 5th in constructors, and the first episode of this show for the 2023 year, Chad and I did predictions, and I predicted McLaren to be 9th, which I think was a solid and very accurate estimation of where they were at that.
That was in
point.
the Alonso days, right?
No, this was this year.
Oh,
I predicted them to be 9th at the end of 2023 at this season. And that was based on a lot of factors, and a lot of them were not about driving cars. A lot of them were the fact that I think their back office shit was just a complete and utter cluster F.
Well, they had just lost Andreas.
Right.
Seidel.
Lost Andreas
He had
Seidel.
just left.
Yep.
He went off to be a principal at another place instead of a technical director.
Correct.
They had just lost James Voles.
Yep.
They had just lost
Williams.
Yes, correct. To be a team principal again. So what does that tell you about the state of their crew, even in a bad day, when 2 other teams hire their lower level engineering guy, higher level engineering guys away to be a team principal?
Well, in a lot of ways, I think they did a complete reorg because they basically offloaded 2 guys and hired 5 guys, and everybody, not the hamburger place, they hired 5 actual guys. But
for sure.
Sorry, I got to say that this is the age of social media. Anyway, they hired 5 actual guys to do the job of 2, and it was weird, but I know it was either in pre-show discussion with Chad at the time, but I was like, for God so loved the world, he didn't send a committee. And, he sent 1 guy. And I was just an absolute unbeliever as far as our 5 guys going to work. And then as we've gotten to this weekend in Formula One, I'm starting to think, okay, so Zach Brown's playing the long game.
Zach ain't fucking around.
So I've never been an opponent of Zach Brown. Even if I thought they were going to finish 9th, it wasn't because of Zach Brown. I know Chad,
let me ask you this. Did you know who Zach was prior to him being a McLaren CEO?
I know his background. I know his racing background. I know his pedigree. I also
United
know
Auto
that
Sports.
one of the things I tried to influence on or to set up on Chad with was, I'm like, guys, this dude is running a business. And he's got to be dispassionate about some of the decisions that he makes.
And McLaren is a much bigger business than just F1.
Absolutely.
It's the street cars. It's the hybrid builds. It's the everything. It's like Williams. Williams is more than just an F1 team. People don't realize that.
And Mikey, this is where you can chime in, because McLaren has a huge presence on the GT and WEC scene, right? So running that 650 and that 720 still, and doing very, very, very well. I mean, they're not. Unfortunately, Rafael Marciello is an excellent.
Are they still running 650s and 720s?
Yeah, absolutely. For
really
GT4s and GT3s, yes.
Wow. They don't even make the street car anymore. Wow.
No, they don't. But they're still running that in GT World Challenge, British Intercontinental, if I'm not mistaken, and on the lower end of
stick to what works.
WEC. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and I think that's one of their strengths. But Mike, I don't know how much you follow them on WEC, but yeah, they got a legit team.
I haven't got into it. I told you last week about when they caught fire, about the car going up at Goodwood, and then that tweet pops up from them this week, and I shared with you. I said, "This is it. This was something caught fire here."
Yeah, and I mean they've always
just some good mojo.
I missed that. I missed that. Yeah. Oh, are we talking about the hill climb car?
Yeah,
The
the
Solus?
Solus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just saw another Solus get delivered to a customer yesterday, I think.
I knew what?
There's only 25. So the Solus GT, the McLaren center seated single seat
Man, I
V12
don't know if I
monster.
could do that. I don't
Oh
know if I
yeah, of
could do a
course you can.
center-seated car. I mean, I
No, it's the most
would,
natural.
obviously.
It's the most natural seating position of all time. I mean, it's race car. It's it's the right way to sit. You don't even adapt to it. It's just natural. It.
I
I
still
mean,
wish they'd build that VGT concept car that's only exists digitally. Is
that's
where
what the
you're
that's
driving
what the Valkyrie is.
in the
That's what the
prone,
Valkyrie is.
leaning with
Oh,
your
oh,
legs
you're
back.
talking.
Yeah,
I know
the
the one you're
McLaren,
talking about.
the
No, it was
McLaren F1 GT.
no, that was a Newey car.
Yeah, it's a Newey car.
Then it ain't
But it is
McLaren. It's
never.
Red Bull.
Yeah, but they're still calling it McLaren, the McLaren VGT. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're driving with your effing legs are not only behind you, but they're kind of tilted up. You're literally in the prone driving this thing.
Have you
I wish
guys
they'd build that
seen?
and see if any.
Have you guys looked at the tunnels through and under a Valkyrie? Like if you look at a Valkyrie from the front, you see next to nothing. If you look at from the side, full car. From the front,
Yeah.
big giant fucking tunnels.
Yeah, but if you
It's
zoom in
it's
on
a ground
the side,
effect car.
the way it cuts up under itself, it's almost
Well,
like it's not there in a lot
Well,
of ways.
that's exactly my point. Where you expect a car to be, there is
Yeah.
a big giant gaping hole, and that is Adrian Newey going, "I'd like to suck some air down there," you know.
Well, that's if anything follows us on Twitter this week from this show, it's going to be
Yeah,
like,
highlight right there.
man, I'd really like to suck some air from down there.
I ain't lying.
That's
I mean,
what
that's what
Farley's
ground effect
doing.
is, Bubba.
Somebody
It's
go ahead and tweet that
suck
out.
some
Man, I'd
air
like to
from
suck
down
some
there.
air from down there. So,
Oh,
but anyway, as we move towards the end of the season,
Natalie
guys,
Pinkham.
real
Anyways.
quick, before I even talk about this next piece, before Mikey decides to bust my tail,
I'm not gonna.
where do you think
I don't have anything to bust your tail with. Don't worry.
No,
Okay.
I expect you
I've
to.
just got
No,
just got some stuff that
where
what
do you
I
think
like
they're
about
going to
McLaren.
finish? Where are they going to finish 2023?
who?
McLaren constructor. Are they going to go P2?
2.
Are you saying 2? I know Eric's saying 2. Guess what? I'm also saying 2. And that sucks for
Mercedes
me.
will be 3.
I'm a huge
Mercedes will be
Alonso
3.
homer. Shit, Eric. Shit. Yeah, I don't want them. Goodness. I don't want them to finish. I don't want them to finish 3. I wish Aston would go up there. That's kind of driving me nuts.
Well, I do.
The way they
Honestly,
gave
I do.
away
Too.
this season.
But well, you know that relies on one thing and one thing only, and that's Lance.
Lance Stroll.
That's it.
Lance
Because
freaking
Fernando's doing his part, man.
His
He's
dad
doing
said
his
it was
part.
all bad luck.
Yeah, it's awful.
His daddy
It's not-
is selling the fucking team because his boy ain't getting shit done. That's the bottom.
And he can't fire him. You know, and he could have solved this real simple by just putting somebody in between himself and Lance.
Yeah, but who do you put there? That's the problem. That you've already got. Okay, so the only 2 people I see that could possibly be that are Helmut Marko and Franz Toast. And both those guys are, well, Franz isn't now. But at the same time, Lawrence went in, instead of just buying the F1 team, bought the fucking car brand. So now he's
and I think
he's
he'll do
tied
great
to
for
a
that.
business.
It's not an F1.
He already has done great for it.
Yeah.
I look at the. I mean, he's post 177, but the Valkyrie alone, that was followed through and brought to the world because Lawrence is in charge. I don't think that ever would have come to fruition if Ford was still there. I just don't see it.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't think so
Um,
either. But it just
and
breaks my heart.
that's a quantum leap streetcar. That's a new McLaren
Well,
F1.
you know, everybody thinks about that, but they also don't think about Aston Martin's basically entry level CUV, compact utility vehicle, for the British family that wants a better ride than your standard Chevy Traverse or whatever. I think it's
Mhm.
a CX-5 or whatever, but
Yeah. Mhm.
it's a very small entry level Aston Martin. It's probably got all the bells and whistles interior wise, but it's an Aston Martin.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think he's done a good job of getting that out there. It's unfortunate, and here's the thing: as a dad, man, I get it. And, you know, I still remember that episode of DTS where Lance Stroll was on the podium, and
Yeah,
you saw his dad, and that was a genuine reaction.
it was.
Where he was like, "I'm so proud of this kid," and
It's hard for it not to be genuine. I mean, that's such
yeah,
a high level. He's fought for
yeah,
so long.
and even as bad as he is, he's still better than 300 other racers below him right now.
Well,
You
you have
know,
to
it's
understand that
kidding.
as much shit as we talk on Lance Stroll,
Yeah,
he won every fucking championship on the way up. The man has talent.
yeah, he
Here's
didn't.
what he doesn't have: temperament.
Yeah, he has no temperament.
Driving
That's
talent and temperament are two completely different fucking things. And
yeah,
when it comes to flexing your muscle at the highest level in the world, which is Formula One, if you don't have the ability to control your head, nothing else matters.
that's
And
true.
that's where he's lacking. You can be the fastest guy on the planet, but if you're a hothead, you're fucked. And I hate to say it, something that I defended him on for many years is now becoming true and making me look stupid, because I said he actually has talent. He's not a spoiled rich kid. And here we are.
Yeah,
And he doesn't realize the fact that his father has purchased and created a works F1 team, and he wants to shove PTs in the pits and be a general fuckwad. And I just think there's no place for that in Formula One, especially given the situation that young man is in.
yeah,
It
and
is,
man, I gotta
it's
tell you,
unnecessary.
and I'm
As
obviously
fast
not
as he
Lawrence.
or as talented as he may be.
Yeah, I'm just
I
saying,
just
I'm not Lawrence Stroll, and I don't have a bazillion dollars. But I got to tell you, as a father of a teenage son, and I'm just going to use Jason as an example. And I know he's not on the show tonight, but I'm telling you, if he watches this, we'll talk about it. But it's one of those things where I can tell you for a fact, I would feel comfortable down with him and going, "Hey, man," over probably a cheeseburger, because that's like one of
mm-hmm,
his favorite things, as long as it has
mm-hmm.
bacon, and saying, "Hey, son, man, what do you think about GT racing?" And he's going to go, "Why?" He would say, "Why?" And I'm like, "Listen, man, F1's not for everybody." And
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem having that conversation with him and saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, let's try this, dude. Let's put you in the
Mm-hmm.
Valkyrie and put you on Le Mans."
Mm-hmm.
You
So
know,
when Chuck and I were wrenching in Pro Kart Challenge in Southern California, and we would go to large competitions, and half of the field in the premier class had or currently drove an F1. We had
yeah,
Michael Schumacher show up. We had Nelson Piquet coming up here to Norman to practice at the track. Um, Chuck was wrenching for a championship team at the time, and you get these guys that come in that think because at a certain level, it doesn't translate. Just because you're a good driver, and everybody knows you're a good driver, understands this, believe this. There's so many guys that had that feeling and went to F1, and it just didn't come to fruition.
yeah,
And I hate to say it, he's just one of those guys. Like you said, it's just not for everybody, you
right.
know? And we
It's
would
not.
walk
Dudes
around the
like
pitch
fighter
with these
pilots,
guys and they'd
man.
act like everybody else. And that's what you got to remember is these are real people.
Yeah,
you know, with real hangups and real issues and real egos and
Sensitive egos.
oh boy, you think egos are bad in F1? Try karting. It's a
Yeah.
fist fight every race, you know. Um, and that's what makes karting great, and that's what separates the men from the boys that gets them to F1. But there's not a guy up there right now, Danny Rick, uh, uh, Fernando, Lando,
Gasly,
Leclerc.
Leclerc.
No,
Yeah.
I'm talking about world karting champions. Every single one of these guys has been a world karting champion, and I don't think Gasly was. I think actually Ocon was though.
Yeah.
But but the
I'm
point
thinking about
being,
guys that still think that karting was still I mean, Fernando Alonso, if you ask him right now, what's the highlight
it's
of
the
your
peak
career?
of his career.
He's going to say karting. He
In terms
loves
of
karting.
enjoyment, and racing is
Yes.
a true low level thing. And that's one thing that Americans don't get. And if there's anything I can speak to our American audience is that if you want to know who the next big American driver is, go to the biggest karting event you can near you, whether that be the Super Nats with
Yeah.
SCUSA in Las Vegas, or that be the Dallas Karting Complex, or Newcastle up in the New England area. These are where the guys 10 years from now, the best in the world are.
Well,
We don't know
that's
who
where
they are
Denny
yet.
Hamlin and Gordon and Larson and Tony Stewart all
Gordon,
came from.
especially, yeah.
That's where those guys came.
Gordon,
Yeah,
Stewart, yeah,
especially
yeah,
Gordon. Jimmy
yeah.
Johnson.
Oh, and Stewart.
Yeah.
All those guys. Now go to the IndyCar side. You got Scott Pruitt, multiple time IKF national champion. I mean, and when I say multiple, I think it's like 10, 15 times. This guy was seen doing 150 miles an hour at Road America in a 100cc cart.
Yeah, and even
That's
if you go
scary.
overseas, you look at guys like Scott Dixon was a kart guy.
They all are.
Yeah,
They all
yeah,
are. Karting is where race car drivers start.
yep,
Race car drivers that turn both left and right,
yes.
because
All
that's a
right, guys.
critical thing.
So real quick, we're starting to run out of time here, and I want to get to the end of our news because we got a lot of good news. I think, well, not a lot, but a lot of quality news. So, COTA predictions for this weekend, so that I can copy Mikey's and put it in my F1 play. So Mikey, we'll start with you. What's your podium for this weekend at COTA?
Max, McLaren.
Max, McLaren. So Lando, Piastri. Eric, what's your podium?
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I don't either. It's Max and then somebody.
Well, but it's a high speed track, so
Yeah. Which means that Albon will be up there. It means that Ocon and Gasly could be up there if they don't get stupid.
So here's what I'm going to do instead of a top three, because we know pretty much the top three. I think
This guy, yeah. I like the way
I'm going to say Yuki higher than P11.
Okay.
I'm going to say Danny Rick one position below Yuki and their teammates.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say these are all conditional things, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Piastri in front of Norris, and I hate to say that because I like Lando, but
Lando's grown on me a lot this year, man.
I think Oscar's going to put something together. I think Oscar lucked into having a car after these recent upgrades that really favored his driving style. And that car has been built for Lando for 3 years. And I think Oscar just got lucky. And on top of that, he has to have the talent to back it up. And I think he does. I'm going to say Piastri P2.
Okay.
Yuki P9. Ricardo P10.
Okay. So My predictions, I'm kind of going to go the Eric route here, but mine's a little bit different. So my podium is going to be Max, Lando, Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
Assuming Ferrari gets the car out of the garage and it's allowed to start.
I would say Piastri, then Carlos, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to predict that Logan Sargent, and I know this is totally not good.
I would so love this to happen.
I'm going to predict Logan Sargent to finish ahead of his teammate Alex Albon. And
does that mean they both
Mikey's
go out?
writing this down. Mikey, I can literally see I'm going to predict. Okay, for those of you that don't know Daniel Ricciardo, his favorite race is this one. He loves Texas, and I think
he owns a giant 2,000-acre ranch in Austin.
Well, and I think a lot of it has to do if you've ever seen Perth, Australia, where Danny's from. It looks a lot
Austin.
like Texas. Yeah,
it's Austin.
So
and
I think
Danny and I guarantee you that over half of the F1 drivers currently, as we speak, are at Danny's place partying.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to predict Danny Ricciardo P7 or better. And I'm also going to predict Hamilton and Russell having another tiff this weekend.
But is it Russell's fault this time? Or?
Well, this time it was Hamilton, so we'll see how that goes. But I'm going to predict them to have
at first
some
it will be,
kind,
regardless
of some kind of other tiff. So that's my my bet. And Mikey, with that, I'm turning it over to you so you can announce the whatever you're wanting to talk about with the mailbag and whatnot, because I'm totally on board.
I like it.
What do you want to do? Okay, so we're going to go some McLaren talk, and this is leading up to a declaration I want to make.
Okay.
Last week I mentioned, how the text when my daughter first started watching F1. I said, "Oh no, I've got a McLaren fan." All right. Thinking about it, and man, that tweet that came out of the Solus. I'm gonna get there. The Solus. All the stars were aligning this week, and we didn't plan to even talk McLaren. I already had this, but this is more of a fandom look at it. All right. So I've got non-race related reasons to like McLaren. All right. So the car just looks badass.
Yes,
delivery's great. I mean, they're one of the top ones. They're not a Haas. Looks like Payless shoes or something. They look sharp. All right. The color itself, papaya. That's just a fun word to say. Say it, farmer. Say it, farmer.
Papaya.
Oh, yeah.
Say it. Here.
Papaya.
Papaya.
All right. So
I agree with you.
Yeah. So, and this may be an untapped market, but look at their drivers. Most young guys, Lando and Oscar. Look, I've got two daughters. They're on the tail end of their teenage years, and I'm comfortable in my
both of those
masculinity.
dudes.
They're cute boys.
They are. It's hard. I know. Well, I mean, never mind.
And another reason, talking about Oscar, I don't know, Jay, if you follow Oscar Piastri's mom on.
I was gonna mention Nicole earlier.
Is she not the
dude?
best?
Everybody call her Oscar's mom.
She is all mom.
No, I call her Nicole because she's hot and within my fucking range of, you know what I mean. But damn,
mom, she is the best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's all something. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And just looking at the team.
Oh shit, Jay, shut the fuck up. She's younger than you.
Just watching the team and how they interact with each other. They don't have the shit show that Red Bull has. They're a team. They're a team. They're having fun. Nobody's trying to stab anybody in the back. It's a great thing to watch.
I couldn't agree more.
So anyway, all the technical stuff that y'all gave us tonight, and this, and talking it over with my daughter. I come from NASCAR background, right? And I
Right.
told you the great Jimmy Johnson was he's my favorite of all time. All right.
Cali boy.
He was my driver and the team, Hendrick team, I fell in love with, right? And that's what really held me on to NASCAR. And for here it is 2 years in, and I've been like, what's my team gonna be? What's it gonna be? I need to attach to something and for my fandom, right? So with all of this that happened this week, I'm ready to declare my team, McLaren. I love
Fucking A,
Papaya.
Bubba.
There you go, man.
Let's go, baby.
Congratulations.
Let's go. Let's go.
Dude, I couldn't be happier
Hey,
for you.
I got it.
Even if they were that. Go ahead.
Here's the thing. I got to be honest. I'm Tifosi at heart. I am, because Ferrari is F1. If you're not a
Right.
Ferrari fan, you're not an F1 fan,
Mhm.
period. However, McLaren is the scrappiest. I mean, other than maybe, well, no. They are the scrappiest, baddest motherfuckers that have recruited the best talent on the planet.
Oh yeah.
And yes, I'm a huge, and this goes back to Bruce McLaren. I'm a McLaren fan. I support the shit out of that, Mikey. That's beautiful.
All right.
And Mike,
I
I'm
love
listening for
that.
you just because I haven't heard you declare a team yet. So I'm happy for you
I
there.
love that.
Obviously, I'm a Tifosi through and through with a small James Bond attachment to Aston Martin.
No, it's a small, shitty strategy attachment to Ferrari, and Alonso's at Aston Martin.
Yes, huge Alonso fan. But McLaren is like my Yankees to my Red Sox. The Red Sox wouldn't be shit without the Yankees, and the Yankees wouldn't be shit without
I'm
That
wearing
ain't-
my
without the
Yankee
Red
hat
That
Sox.
ain't
next
wrong.
week.
That ain't
Right,
You know
wrong.
I'm wearing my Yankee
So
hat next week.
McLaren is the Yankees to Ferrari's Red Sox, and
I agree with that
we
completely.
have to have them. We have to have them in order to have a successful rivalry.
100%.
So
Yes.
also, he's not a big Bruce McLaren fan simply because he cheated in the 1966 Le Mans. Although
Fuck
I don't
off.
think that
No,
was
he
his
didn't.
fault. I think that was everybody else's fault, not his. Leo Beebe's fault more than likely. But anyway,
Fuck
so I'm
BB.
happy they're doing well, and I do like Zach Brown, man. I'm a huge fan. Lando's
He's an
growing
American.
on me. I think, yeah, and I think Oscar is an emerging talent. I think you put either two of those guys in an RB19, and we'd have a fucking show on Sundays.
Mhm.
So that being said, I'm looking forward to what the rest of the season brings and where they're going to come in. So that's kind of what I got there as far as that goes. But dude, glad you picked your team.
Hell yeah. And I love your choice.
So yeah,
Hell
me
yeah.
too.
If you-
I do too.
I do too. Cheers.
So, dude, at some point we gotta. I've been trying to engage McLaren with like my tweets and whatnot with this show, and hope you guys will help me after the show. But how cool would it be to? Plus, they've got the absolute coolest corporate headquarters I've ever seen in my life. Is
Well,
McLaren.
the MTC. Mikey, do you know
that's
what the
I'm talking
MTC
about. The
is?
Technology Center
No.
at Woking.
Okay, you're not familiar, Mikey.
No.
Okay, dude. I'm gonna
You gotta watch
personally
you gotta
text
watch
you a
the
few
Talkin.
links. Yes,
All right. We'll
it
do.
will.
Just
You'll jizz your pants.
watch the
It
McLaren
is-
documentary
no,
on
that's the
Amazon
truth.
Prime.
Oh,
Yeah, it's the Stoffel Van Dorn Alonso season on that documentary, and you'll
I
end up
wouldn't
going
pick
through
that
every effing room at McLaren at MTC. It's a good show. That being said, let's go to the fuel pod news. So my first piece of news is the female gender related because I think it's cool. So Jessica
I know who you're
Hawkins,
going to talk about. Yes,
Jessica Hawkins tested for Aston Martin. I sent you to the link on the video. Did an excellent job.
I watched it live. Yeah,
It helps that she's an absolute effing smoke show. But she did a wonderful job. So it's not one of those, where it's just the
No,
look
she did
deal.
good.
She knows what she's doing. Yeah. And then this morning, we get the announcement that Bianca Bustamante is going to be the
Yep.
first of any
McLaren.
constructor to be named to the development team for
Yeah.
McLaren.
Yeah.
So excited for
And
both
she's
of those
only
ladies.
18,
Good
I
luck.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, understand Jessica's like 29, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love her story because she's coming
me
from a
too.
background where she had a racing
Did
team.
you
and
see
she
her dad
basically
at the
lost it.
track with
Yes.
her?
Yes, man.
That was so awesome. And seeing
She's
him,
fought so hard
it
to
was
get where
just
she
so
is.
cool. Yes.
She's
Oh, you're
had,
damn right.
Yeah, she's had money problems. She's lost her team. She's fought her way back.
Mm-hmm.
it's
Well, and
one
Jay,
of those
you
things
and I
where,
have both been racing fans long enough. But, we remember Lynn St. James and
yes,
what was the drag racer?
I never know. I'm not a big drag racing fan, man, but I know who
Oh
you're
yeah, we
talking
talked
about
that. Yeah.
Wasn't it a Sally?
But
Sally
anyway,
something. Yeah.
No, but I know where we're going with. Anyways, yeah. I feel horrible. I can't remember her name.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm expecting to hear Chuck yell from the other room here in a second.
Yeah, but that's a very good point too. We don't remember.
But
you know what I mean?
There are
It's
and
so
even
few and
right
far
now
between.
in NHRA, you have Brittany Force, you have all these women that are out, and these women are out there doing 333 miles an hour in the quarter mile.
Well, dude, listen, Mikey and I watched
Shirley Muldowney. He came in here and told me.
Nice, but Mikey and I are big WEC fans, dude, and GT fans. And
Me
you
too.
Got the Iron Dames, and the Iron Dames are wonderful, man.
I wish they did a little better than they normally do. To be fair,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But and to be honest, I think a bit of that is driving talent, but it's not because they're female,
right?
It's because of who they chose, And there are. I grew up in karting. There were. So I'm going to tell you all a story right now. So when I was a young man in karting, aside from remembering pouring beer, cheap light beer into empty Dr. Pepper cans in the pits because you were not allowed to drink in the pits until the races ended. Aside from that memory, I remember one thing. Lisa was fast. And Lisa was this hot little 24-year-old. And my God, and I'm not kidding. There's YouTube proof. I'll send you all the video. Lisa was fucking fast, and she drove with her ass, meaning she would throw her body weight in the seat to displace the cart. And this bitch would just tear it up. I mean, Lisa was nasty. And anybody that's watched, and by the great Scott, if anybody watching knows who Lisa was, at Adams Kart Track in the late 80s, she was fucking killing it. It is not about gender, it's about talent when it comes to that kind of car. And my God. So the moral of the story is I grew up as a young kid admiring a female driver.
Yeah, absolutely.
At my local track as a young child. In the same class as my dad was competing in, he's like, she's kicking her ass, and she was.
Yeah.
I can't wait until the day where we have our first Grand Prix winner that is female, and it will come. It will come.
Yeah.
That's
it
what she
will,
said.
man. And I, just watching Bianca and Jessica run some laps, man. I got to tell you, it's not going to be. What was that for?
Shit.
Holy shit!
He
Boys.
didn't hear it, Mike. He didn't hear it. That's
good. That's a good thing.
See, you coming over tomorrow?
Watching them both, watching them both come into their own and do some hot laps and see their see the times they're turning in, definitely comparable. And it's not like we didn't know they were. It was just a matter of how many how many women they had that wanted to drive, and B, getting the opportunity to get out there.
Sure.
So
Well,
really,
it's
really
the
excited to
opportunity.
see.
That's
Yeah,
the key word.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And with the Iron Dames, they got lucky. They hooked up with Iron Lynx Racing, and Iron Lynx carved out a niche for them and put them in their own spot instead of just
What made
kind
the
of
difference for
absorbing
Iron
them into the
Dames?
team, which I thought was cool.
The origins of Iron Dames, if I correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, I believe go back to Sabine Schmidt.
Yes.
So, I love you, Sabine.
Kind of one of those long
she
time
passed
coming
away,
situations.
but Mikey, I don't know if you know who Sabine is, but if you don't, you need to find out.
Yeah, look it up, or have your daughter look it up, because it seems like your daughter's kind of really getting interested in
Yes,
in kind
Yes.
of what's going on with that.
Sabine is someone who I think 50 years from now will look back and admire her for her pioneering.
I was going to say as a pioneer, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
But guys, we've kind of reached the end of the show. We actually went long tonight, which is weird because this was the shortest rundown we actually had planned. But excellent discussion on McLaren and Adrian Newey. As I top off here, but
go get the book, How to Build a Car, Adrian Newey.
Absolutely,
grab it. It's amazing.
I didn't even know he had written a book, man. So yeah, obviously I want to read it. I'm probably going to buy it off of you and save myself some money, but then I'll probably end up buying it.
I'll just give you the synopsis. It's okay.
But yeah, let's get together this week or this Sunday and watch the race and do some food.
Absolutely.
And have a good time. And folks, listen, if you're watching or listening, or if you watch this later, make sure you either hit up ESPN or F1 TV and watch the COTA race this weekend. The NASCAR race will be on NBC with the pre-race and post-race on Peacock. YouTube will have any GT World Challenge information going on. Rally's not till next week in Germany. So give that a go if you got the opportunity to do so, because it's a wonderful time if you like non-hard track racing.
I was going to say Germany's a good rally too. I love Germany.
Yeah, it absolutely is a good. My favorite is probably Estonia or Croatia, but Germany's a pretty good one.
Estonia is better, for sure.
Yeah, make sure you guys hit us up on Twitter. I'm at JNeil729. We got
at F1 Farmer.
At F1 Farmer below me and at 2Diddy4. Guys, wonderful episode tonight, man. Eric, thank you for being here. Mikey, thank you for doing your thing, because it was wonderful. I think this was really good. I kind of like the direction we're going, where it's more just discussions than just reporting sports. I don't know what that was, but anyway, thank you all very much, and have a good week. Be safe. Enjoy motorsports this weekend. We're doing all kinds of finger pointing. I don't know what it's about, but listen, have a good one. Thank you all very much for being here tonight.
Papaya.
Next week we'll be talking about COTA's results, and we'll be talking about Homestead Miami's results, and hopefully we'll cover some leftover IMSA stuff, and then our preview for WRC Europe.
And let's not forget a bunch of random bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that we're big fans of the random.
What are we going to talk about next week, real quick, before we get off here? What's our special topic next week? Somebody come up with it.
Well, it looks like the second place in the F1 World Championship. Well, I just did like points wise. It looks like it's going to be probably somebody's going to get close. Here's what this boils down to: does Checo finish the race?
You're not wrong. I think a lot of it comes down to Checo finish the race.
Big oof. So that's what next week's about. This is the Checo go or no go thing. I don't know why we're
Yeah.
pointing at Mikey, but I'm getting
We're
in
pointing at Mikey
by
because Mikey has from totally unconfirmed sources that Helmut Marko's getting fired.
and Max won't allow it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Checo would
Red Bull
love it.
drama next week. Red Bull drama.
I'm
every
all
week.
down with Red Bull drama. Let's
Yeah,
do Red Bull
let's do-
drama every week.
Let's do Red Bull drama, but we have to include my girl Ginger Spice on that one.
Oh, we can do
Let's
it. We
figure
can
out
do
a
it.
way
I'm
to
all for
put
it.
her in there.
Yeah.
So
It involves donkeys and sheep.
yeah, donkeys. There's
What-
lots of donkeys and sheep liver cans. Anyway, let's get out
Yeah.
of here. All right, guys. Catch you next week. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you, F1 Farmer. Thank you, 284. This is the Fuel Pod signing off. Peace.
See ya.
Papaya.
Bye.